Return of the Jedi was released in May 1983 and became the biggest hit of that year, selling millions of tickets. But did you know, according to Lucasfilm, Return of the Jedi still, to this day, has never made a profit. Let's find out why. Welcome back again to the Junk Room. 2 videos in one day. I know, it's like Christmas, isn't it? What are we going to talk about today? Well, you already know that. We're going to talk about how Return of the Jedi is said to have never made profit. Can it be true? Can a movie as big as Return of the Jedi, as a huge hit as that film, is it true that this movie never made a profit? It seems unreal. But let's dig into that and see if it's true. Now, before we get started with that video, as always, if you'd like to support this channel, the best way you can support it is just sharing these videos. Go on any social media you have or whatever and post links to this channel, these videos, and more. It really helps it out. And if you want to support this channel in another way, buy a cool t-shirt over at thatjunkman.com, like this very cool Boba Fett shirt. Yeah, a Ben Cooper style Boba Fett shirt. Go buy that today. And you can always join Patreon, where we got a whole new series where it's just me giving random thoughts driving in the car. It's a lot of fun. Check that out on Patreon or other videos there. You get commentary, deleted stuff. Sometime I need to delete it. It's been a while. And videos early. And I'm going to have more on Patreon soon. Now we got all that out of the way. Let's find out. Did Return of the Jedi really not make a profit? How is this possible? Well, first let's get to how this all got started. As many of you probably know, there's been a rift between George Lucas, Lucasfilms, and David Prowse, the man who played Darth Vader inside the suit. We all know James Earl Jones did the voice, but David Prowse was the guy in the suit. I did a whole video about their feud. Check it out. It's called Lucas versus Darth Vader. It's part of my series of videos where I look at people that upset George Lucas or he's taken them to court. If you hadn't seen that series, please check it out. Well, in an interview a few years back, David Prowse talked about how he hasn't gotten some promised money for playing the part of Darth Vader. It seems in his contract that he got a bonus or part of the profit once the film hits a profit. But according to David Prowse, he keeps getting letters from Lucasfilm stating there's no money to give him because the film has yet to hit a profit. What seems unheard of. We're talking Return of the Jedi here. Worldwide, the film made $374 million, and that was in 1983 money, so you know it's a lot more than that today. But that's not counting the money it made from the special edition. That brought its total earnings up to over $570 million. Still, no profit? How much money did it cost to make this film? But let's look at the quote from David Prowse. He says the letters start out saying they regret to inform him that the film, Return of the Jedi, has never gone into profit. And, in his words, they have nothing to send him. He says that he's made money off Star Wars, and it's not really for him about the promised money. He just thinks if there's gold at the end of the rainbow, and that he was supposed to have some of that gold, then he needs to have it. A few years ago, the website Times Online reached out to Lucasfilm for a comment on this, but of course, as you can guess it, they had no comment. But let's dig into this more and find out why Lucasfilm is saying Return of the Jedi hasn't made a profit. There seems to be a key word in all this. One, we're talking about a shared profit, and the other, we're talking about a net profit. First, it seems there's two different profits. One, a studio calls the gross profit, and another one called the net profit. These are two different types of profits, and based on which one you're going to get money from, you may see your money and you may never see your money. But let's break down these two types of profit that show up in movie contracts and see what the difference is. Let's start with gross profit. It's very rare for an actor in his contract to get money from gross profit, unless you're a big name actor. If you're an A-list actor, sure you can get that in your contract, because the studios are going to bend over backwards to get you in the film. But what does this mean, gross profit? That means you get a percentage of the profit based on the gross of the film. How much this movie makes at any cost, you get a piece of that in profit. Let's say the movie made $375 million at the box office. You get a profit of that $375 million right there. And it's easy for actors, producers, agents, everyone to really see how much a movie's made. So it's really hard for the studio to hide anything when those numbers are so public. If you're one of these lucky actors or an A-list producer or director and you're able to get gross profit into your contract, you're going to make a lot of money if the movie's a hit. In fact, there's a lot of actors out there, or I guess directors and producers, who will take a pay cut from their normal salary to do a film so they can get gross profit, as it's going to be a lot more money for them than what they're normally paid. Now, it's unlikely that David Prowse is talking about gross profit, being that he's not an A-list actor, and I doubt any of the actors got gross profit, at least for the 3 original films. But it's very, very unlikely that the contract David Prowse signed had him getting gross profit. It's more likely that he's going to get money received from net profit. So what's net profit? Well, let's look into that. It's something that in a contract, to an actor signing it, looks like a great deal. But in reality, it's something most studios never ever pay anyone. As an actor or a producer, it's money you'll never see. As long as a movie is still having expenses, very few films ever show a net profit, on the books anyway. As long as a movie is still generating some type of expense, they're going to still say they haven't received net profit yet. So let's say George Lucas was at Celebration, and there he was going to talk about Return of the Jedi. And there at Celebration, you had to pay for Lucas's travel to get there, his hotel room, food, and other expenses. And they can say, since he talked about Return of the Jedi, that's going to go into the expense part of making the film Return of the Jedi. So it still hasn't hit a net profit yet because it's still generating expenses. As you can see here, you can really play around with that word net profit. A film will never hit that net profit because it's always occurring expenses. If Lucas or a creator of any other film keeps talking about it, and it can be worked into the books as being promotion for that film, it falls into the expense and net profit is still not earned. Again, let's say George Lucas was at Celebration, running up expenses. Let's say when he returned back to Lucasfilm, his expense for the whole travel was $25,000. Well, that money's got to go somewhere in the books. So all that money can be moved in the books to be an expense for Return of the Jedi, claiming that he's promoting the film. If George Lucas, well, before Disney bought it anyway, let's say even now, if Kathleen Kennedy or anyone talks about any of the Star Wars films, they just say that's part of the expense of promoting that movie. Does it have to be Return of the Jedi? Does it have to be Star Wars or Disney related? All studios do this. What about David Prowse? Will he ever get the money that he was promised in his contract? That's very unlikely. But he could contact a lawyer and try to fight it in the courtroom to get his money. And it would probably get settled out of court because it's most likely any major studio, not just Lucasfilm, wouldn't want to open their books for the courtroom and make everything public knowledge, especially for a big blockbuster like Return of the Jedi. You don't want people digging around those accounting books, finding out how you're moving around all your money. So it seems David Prowse could probably try to pull him into court, where they would settle out of court and he could get some of that profit he feels he deserves. But that's probably very unlikely. But that's the difference between gross profit and net profit. Gross profit's the good one. Net profit is the one where studios are going to scam you out of some money that you thought you were going to get. So technically, in a way, since Return of the Jedi is still taking expenses by promoting it when someone talks about it, it technically hasn't made a net profit. So when you hear people say, did you know Return of the Jedi has never made a profit? Well, you got to tell them it's never made a net profit. It has made a gross profit, and it did make its money back for sure. But now you know the rest of the story. I want to thank you for watching. Please thumb up my video if you like my content and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back very soon with a whole new video. Fred, take us out of here.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.